It's all about Yext. Is Yext worth it for SEO? All
Woohoo!
right, so what is Yext? If you're not familiar with Yext, you will be if you start doing SEO, because Yext is a company that allows you to speed up your citation process. So basically, a citation is any instance of your business name, your phone number, and your address online. You can think of it as like thousands of online phone books. And as you can imagine, to fill out your name, address, and phone number on each one of these is going to take a long time. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes and longer if you're new to citations to fill out each one of these. It's the same as, for example, Facebook is a citation. So it's like making an account, uh, confirming the account, going through to the screen where you can find where to put your name, address, and phone number, actually filling it out, then waiting for it to get approved, then verifying, and finally getting that name, address, and phone number corrected online. So there is the alternative. There's many alternatives here that we're going to talk about today, but the main one we're going to be focusing in on is Yext, and if it's worth it to pay the, let's see, how much is it? It's between $200 and $1,000 per year to get these citations updated and then also to keep them updated. So basically, Yext is a one-time service that you fill out with your name, address, and phone number for your business, and then it automatically fills in the top 50 citations, which hold the most weight. There's thousands of citations out there, but the top 50 are really the most important. So many of these places have outsourced their actual citations to Yext. So, for example, Yahoo is one of the biggest clients of Yext. So it'll be sites that you're definitely familiar with or you've heard of, but you can actually go into each one of these websites and do it for free on your own, or you can pay Yext to do this for you. And I'm sure that Paul has a lot of things to say about Yext.
I actually had a question I want to ask you first. Do you know
Sure.
offhand just some other companies that do the same thing as Yext, just so that our viewers might have an idea of, who might be approaching them or what some other alternatives are, who else is doing this kind of work?
Yeah, there's a couple different ones. Some of the top citation companies include Moz.com, WhiteSpark, and BrightLocal.com. So those are just a couple alternatives to Yext. They're actually all pretty much cheaper than Yext, and a lot of them are one-time fees. Moz, I think, is a yearly fee of, I think, like somewhere around 80-something a year. Or you can, there's a lot of alternatives you can do as well. So there are definitely some alternatives to Yext.
All right, great. Paul, did you want to jump in on that a little bit at all?
Yeah, the WhiteSpark.ca is a great company out of California. Bright Local is a company we work with. They do the citations. There are a few other ones that are out there. So there's certainly alternatives, not necessarily for someone to manage it for you, but those other companies will help you do the citations. But it's not really a management service. I also know of UBL, which I think is Ultimate Business Listing. Used to be really popular before Yext was around. And there's other services that say they'll manage all these different things for you. In fact, a lot of business owners get called all the time by, let's say, the phone book, Yellow Pages, Yelp, and they'll say, oh, we're going to do some stuff for you. And some of the stuff that they say they'll do for you, they kind of roughly allude to helping with your business listings, and that's roughly alluding to the idea of fixing your citations. So they kind of do it, but usually they are really good about snaking out of being really accountable and transparent about exactly what they're going to do. And Yext probably does better than the rest of those, but even there, Robin will get into why you may or may not want to use Yext because there's a lot that you could really do without them. Back to you, Robin.
Sure. Okay, we're going to go over the different ways you can tackle these citations. But first, I'm just going to show you why we should even care about why your name, address, and phone number is on these sites and why it needs to be 100% consistent. And we're talking about, I mean, if it's a capital T, capital S and lowercase t for street, it has to be literally that for all of your citations. If there's an extra comma or an extra period, you could get ranked lower on Google. So that's why this matters so much. And Citations here are, you can see this part of the pie, and this is how you rank on Google, basically. So it's a big part of this and this together really combined. So you can see that about a third of this pie is just for citations. So that's why this matters so much.
Robin, before you run from that, my favorite pie chart there, could you, as long as we're on there, just sort of show everybody who's watching where the social media part of that pie is? Because we know we're always talking about how important these things are comparatively.
Sure. So social media, if you spend all of your time on social media and think that's going to help you rank on Google, that's only 5% of the reason why you rank on Google. So you should really be spending 95% of your time on these other items, which we have lots of blogs on awesomedynamic.com/blog, and we have lots of webinars on that subject specifically.
So we're not saying that you shouldn't spend some time doing some things on social media, and depending on the type of business you have, it can be more important than in others. But this really illustrates what we're talking about today and how valuable it is and how much better your time will be spent on that than posting some things on Facebook, for instance.
All right. So the first way is to just do them yourself. This does take about 2 to 4 months, and it takes about 20 to 80 hours, just depending on how quickly you do it and how fast you can pick up citations or business listings. So it is a good alternative, but you either need time or you need to hire someone. So that's one alternative. The other alternative is you can hire an SEO company. So that'll take you about 1 to 2 hours, because you'll have to fill out a sheet, and you'll need to let them know which citations you'd like to do. But you do get a little bit, you get more personal attention, and you also know that the citations are done correctly, because some of these automatic sites, such as Yext and some of these down here, it's an automatic form they'll fill out. So if something's wrong in that form, it'll now be copied wrong to all of the hundreds of citations out there. And they multiply too. So if you fill out the top 10, other citations and other websites and social media and all these other listings, they can copy that information from those sites, and now it's multiplied across the whole internet, causing you potential harm on ranking on Google. Okay, so hiring a professional, usually around $60 to $200 an hour is an estimate, but you get it done right. Combination of 1 and 2, you can actually do some of the citations yourself, and also hire an SEO professional to get maybe the top 50 done, and then continue on training, doing it yourself. Or you could get, let's say, your front desk person, or maybe your niece or a college student. You can hire them at a lower hourly rate, like let's say $10 or $15 an hour, and have an SEO professional train them for a few hours until they get the hang of citations, and have them do it that way. That's a great alternative as well. You can hire a citation company. Or do you guys want to comment on any of those first 3 there?
The one thing I want to say is I know when we get involved in this, a lot of times when we're digging a lot deeper, I mean, we've been talking in terms of maybe a top 50, but there's probably hundreds of them that could be done. I know I've heard you guys talk about utility bills, and so there's a lot of it out. So you can dig deeper than that. I think that's one of the things that might happen when you're using a professional, is you'll be able to get a little further. Probably the efficiency would allow them to dig a little deeper and get a little further. And there's probably new ones popping up pretty regularly as well, as you said, because other people copy them and they pop up all over.
The one thing that I wanted to say is this idea of hiring somebody that whether it's a college student, a high school student, somebody that's savvy, that can really pick up how to do something pretty quickly on their own, regardless of whether or not they have computer skill. Obviously, computer skills will help. But another thing that really helps is somebody who has patience and dedication, because the process of doing citations is not easy. It can be frustrating, and a lot of it's just a lot of persistent follow-up. A lot of things in technology can require patience and persistence, and this is one. So if you're looking to hire somebody to do this, if you can free up a person that has some of those different qualities, that could really be a great way to get this done. And the key is when you are doing that is to really well document everything that they're doing, because it does take a long time to get some of these citations completed.
Yes, it's extremely detail oriented.
Hmm?
All right. So
We're talking about
what
the
Terry
site.
said,
Go ahead,
yeah,
Robin.
what Terry said was a good point. There's a lot that these companies won't do for you. For example, he mentioned bills and like utility bills. That's where a lot of these companies get your information initially. So if you think that you've never filled out a citation online or a business listing, maybe you filled out your Facebook page and your Yelp page, but that's it. Chances are you probably already have at least 100 citations online. So where are these companies getting that information? They're getting it from Google. They're getting it, let's say you handed out a business card and someone entered in that information into a database. That could be a place. Your utility bills, when you file, or when you magazine subscription to your office, that could be another place they're getting this information. So if your business license as well. So if you have the wrong information, the wrong business name, address, and phone number on those items, or even if you change locations and it's an old address, that's places where people can get this information from. Then it goes out on the internet, then it multiplies into tons of places. Actually, Paul, if you can pull up that chart of that like brain chart of how they're all interrelated. And some of the
I will dig that up. Give me a second. I don't have it at a moment's notice, but I could probably pull it up in just a few minutes here.
All right. And then another alternative is you can hire a citation company. So we briefly touched on this with Moz, White Spark, Bright Local, and a few others out there. But a lot of times I'll see that there's a margin for error. And they only give you a certain amount of a guarantee rate. So if you do it yourself, you're going to get 100% guarantee rate, which means you submit these citations. So let's say you submitted 50 or you submitted 100 that you wanted. Most of these sites will only give you a 70% or less guarantee rate, which means if you submitted 100 sites that you want, they're only going to be able to do 70 of those. And you're going to be left with, you're going to be missing some. Another problem that these automated sites run into is there's phone call verification sometimes, and they can't do that. They're only doing the automatic verification to know that you're the business owner. So you're going to miss out on any phone call verifications. So that the advantage to that, though, is it does take a little bit less time. Just fill out one sheet, and it's a pretty good rate, but you're not going to get 100%, and also there might be a lot of mistakes. So that could even put you in a worse situation. And the last one I have here is using Yext. The downside is it's extremely expensive. And you're still going to get those types of errors. You're going to get maybe a 70% guarantee rate, but they say that it's 100%. But if it's a phone call verification, it's going to be difficult to get to that 100%. It also doesn't guarantee that the citations will be filled out 100%. For example, Angie's List, it takes about 45 minutes to really fill that out 100%. So Yext is not going to spend 45 minutes filling that out for you. They're only going to do the name, address, and phone number. They're not going to put, and maybe some pictures or business description. So this is definitely a downside to using Yext. Plus, it's at least 200, usually around $500 a year for the average business.
They're not going to spend 45 minutes doing that for you?
Right.
That's a great point, Robin. Some of these do take quite a bit of time, and they're not going to spend the time. They're not going to spend the time dedicated to making sure it's absolutely right for you. And that's one big thing that any of these companies that you pay, and it seems like it's too good to be true for the money. What was the cost between 300 and
between
800 a year?
200 and 1,000 a year, based on what subscription model you want.
And if there are hundreds of citations to do, thousands even, and each one takes anywhere between 15 and 45 minutes to do, either they're getting the best labor rate in some foreign country ever, or they are cutting corners, and I'm going with the latter.
Yeah.
or both. I got that graph up on my screen. I'll share my screen. Blake, if you'd
Okay, great.
change the focus. This is just a really cool chart to kind of let you know what the ecosystem of the citations are. You can see it's called, right now it's on this chart, it says Google plus local. This is back from 2013, but a lot of it's still relevant. Now it's called Google My Business. But as you look around, you can see all the different data directories that are on this chart and how they interact with each other. And the whole point to the citation game is to get all the names, addresses, and phone numbers of your businesses all over the internet to match your Google My Business or Google Local name, address, and phone number exactly. And you can see that everything is a indicator back to Google. And you can see that some influence others. So that's where factual is one that we actually did a video on sometime in the past. You can see Yext is over here, some of the different things that they influence. You can see the things that Yext doesn't influence. So there's certainly a lot of places you can put information. The factual one is free to do. I think you can only do it once per year. Here's the UBL that I mentioned earlier. So there's certainly different places you can put your information that will spread to other places on the internet based on where you put it in. Back to you, Robin.
All right, and that covers all of our alternatives, but let's really dive into Yext now. So can you actually get all those same listings without using Yext? Right now you can get the majority of those citations. There was some points in the past where Yext was exclusive. They had exclusive deals, but I know some of those have been legally overturned. I think Yahoo was one of them, so that they had to provide that free listing option. Yeah, so but just because they provide the free listing option doesn't mean that they make it easy to find. You may have to go through like a bunch of different pop-ups, a bunch of different ads, go through 10 different screens, try to put that free listing into your shopping cart, get to a page where you have to put in your credit card, or they make it seem like you have to put in your credit card. And then finally, when you get to the last page, it says, okay, there's $0 in your cart, but you've bought this free listing, and now you can actually check out, and you don't actually have to put in your credit card. So you can skip over any citations that make you pay, because there are some paid citations, but you should not have to. Some of these are like they make you look like you're going to have to pay for it, and you actually don't. So one way around this that I use is I just Google, how to get a free business listing on Yahoo, or how to fill out my citation on Yahoo. And then chances are someone else already did it, especially if it's a top 50 citation, and the instructions, it'll be there like step by step, or it'll take you right to the page you need to go. So the majority of time spent on these citations is just finding where you need to copy in your business name, address, and phone number. So that would only take 30 seconds to do, but finding the actual citation and where to put it in and making the account, that takes about 15 minutes.
Sounds like fun. Robin, I think I've heard you say this before, and I think it's a great tip that bears repeating. You want to talk about the email address you want to use when you're filling all these out, if you're doing them yourself?
Yes, you are going to get a ton of spam if you sign up for hundreds of these citations. They're going to email you at least once a day each. So you definitely want to make another Google account, so you can make another free Gmail email account and then use that for all your citations. Can you use the same password? Yes, you can use the same username and password for all of the citations, with the exception of if they have their own. So for example, Facebook has @facebook.com, so you can't use your Gmail for that. But you can use the same password. And then, Yahoo, you have to use @yahoo.com when you make an account. So definitely don't use your real email address, but when filling out the public information, because these citations can actually be used to contact you. For example, like Yelp. People use, Yelp all the time. They use Yahoo. They use, Google My Business. So put your actual real email that you want to get contacted on, like your general contact info email. on the actual listing, but when you're making the account, use that spam email.
All right, good tip. Save people a lot of time and aggravation. All right, so are we ready to sum up?
Well, the one comment that I wanted to make about Yext is, they'll tell you if you call them up and you get them on the phone, they're going to tell you they're going to do all these great things for you. They're going to take care of them. The person that you're talking to that's trying to sell you the package will promise you the world. And with any of these companies, whether it's Yelp or any other company that might say they're going to help you with the SEO, start asking really specific questions. Ask them how they're going to report it to you. Will you tell me how many citations exactly I'll get per week? Will you provide me links to them so I can double check them after you're done? How are they going to handle the phone verification? You start asking some of those questions, you'll find that the person on the phone will, in many cases, just not have a good answer or even just hang up on you. So that's when you know that maybe they're not doing everything that they're promising, because when you start asking about the specifics, they're not giving you great answers at all.
All right.
Yes, and there is some rumors of when you stop paying for Yext. We've seen like a lot of different studies, and that if you stop paying for Yext, that your listings start going down, and it can affect your Google ranking as well. So when you're doing these citations, you want to make sure that 100% of your citations are consistent with name, address, and phone number. But is that realistic? You're probably never going to get 100% of your citations consistent online. But if you can get the majority of them, and let's just say you get 75% of your citations online, they're all 100% consistent. Well, that's going to send some good signals to Google saying, okay, this is definitely the right name, address, and phone number. It's the same as if you opened, say you had 10 phone books and all of them listed a different phone number. Well, now you don't know who to call. Or if you have all your old business addresses, you don't know where they're located. So that's why it's such an important ranking factor on Google.
All right. So you got to start somewhere, and you got to dig in, and doing as many as you can, and doing more than your competition is really where it really starts. Fair enough.
Well, I think Robin did a great job putting this piece together. It's really about the alternatives. So we constantly get people asking, when we teach them how to do the citations, man, Yext just showing up everywhere. This is such a pain to do. Should I just pay them? Don't fall for this temptation. So there's a lot you could do to get around them. They don't control everything. And in fact, there's a big deal in the news not too long ago about how the only way to change your Yahoo local listing was through Yext, but because there was so much rhetoric out there about how that was unfair, or what people were saying about it, they then turned it back open so people could update their Yahoo local listing, but it's still not really intuitive in how to get there. And that's really one of the biggest pieces that's really frustrating about doing the citations, is figuring out where to go and not pay. And they don't really make that super clear. But we could do lots of these different webinars and blogs about specific issues that people have about webinars, and we could certainly add those in the future.